It's moments like this that I love.
All right, so here with a couple of my good buddies. We got Aaron Crane over here. Of course, fantastic Mr. Butch Rice over here. And my name, Doug Fenson. So we're all three musicians. Get the privilege to work together and write. Me and Aaron, normally on Mondays, we do a Music Monday, so either writing or recording. And sometimes we get to work with some of our fantastic musician friends, such as Butch Rice. So with this song, Daddy's Shadow, we scheduled a Zoom ride on a Monday, and I'm not sure 100% how the topic came in. Can you all?
Yeah, I just recently lost my dad, and he passed away, and I'd written a song about it, and just kind of got us all talking together about the song, about our fathers, and before long we come up with this idea of how we were back in the day when we were younger kids with our fathers.
I was surprised at how much of the same stuff we had in our background. I think what struck me was you'd written like a paragraph of thinking about, I think you said that you were sitting down for breakfast thinking about your dad. So when Doug said, "Has anybody got an idea for the day?" I felt like you'd already written like the first verse in your Facebook post.
Yeah.
What's the whole thing about the coffee mug and early mornings.
I do remember it took us probably 3 writes, I think, on this song. We were taking so much time, because one of the things I love about our writing is we take time for character creation. And sometimes it's a lot of the discussion. So we might take 2 or 3 hours to block off a writing session, but we might only sometimes spend 45 minutes or an hour of that actual writing, and sometimes it's creating the scene so that way the song has a coherency. And I think it was 3 sessions, wasn't it?
I think so. I mean, if you were trying,
it's pretty easy.
Yeah, trying to really get that character, almost like you said, almost like a movie, to really visualize where we're at with that, and that's kind of why we ended up at my house, at the kitchen table and the hearth and stuff, because those are really reminiscent of childhood and what I grew up with, and it's what it seems like all of us grew up with.
A little bit there, yeah. I mean, my highlight of the day for me was sitting down next to my grandfather. My grandmother would sit out, his granny would sit out his place, his coffee cup, his pepper, his toothpicks, etc. And then I'd plop down there right beside him. What are we doing today? Where are we going? We go for a ride? So, What struck me though is the whole thing about like cane poles and the farms, and finding out that you grew up like my father did. I spent time on the farm, but I never really lived out here. Lived out there on the family farm.
Yeah, having those, those moments where the daddy shadow, that I just remember that being struck of seeing the great big shadow of my dad in the evening as we were working on the farm, and looking like some kind of giant, in the kid's imagination, but it also, there was a comfort there. You felt safe, like you were being protected by that big shadow.
There you go. Well, there you go. As long as you're running around his legs, you feel like you're not going to get hurt unless you get in trouble.
One of my favorite parts of the song is actually the bridge, which I like a lot of the elements of the song, but the imagery I don't know if the song, unless you really are listening to the words to illustrate the point, but when we discussed that, we were mapping out this bridge, it was that as the sun starts setting low, the shadow begins to go longer and longer and longer. And so there was a sunset train that rolls by at the same time, that the sun sets at the same time this train rolls by, so the shadow disappears at the exact moment of that. And it was reminiscent of the daddy getting on the train, going, to a better place for the night, and that he'd be back the next day with the sun. I really love the imagery in those lines.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite part of the song.
Probably one of mine too. It makes me. I can hear the train. You can hear the train coming off the farm. You can hear the train of both my grandparents, great grandparents' house. You can hear the train money when it comes through, and the cane poles and dropping, fishing off the bridge, walking on gravel roads. They were actually teasing me. I was at the family reunion 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they were teasing me about how excited I was talking about it. But it was exciting to get, I could get just cut loose, do whatever I wanted. We're making bows and arrows, slinging apples, and my father's going, well, the chicken coop's over here, then the creek's over here. I'm back here at the barn, and they finally told me there were snakes in the outhouse.
That's funny.
No, I was like, yeah, but why did you tell me there were snakes in the outhouse? Because if he told you, you wouldn't have gone out there.
Thank you, Dad.
Yeah, right? That's my mother. I was like, what?
And I think I just like it because it just captured that moment of, you know, it's like a snapshot in your mind. That just kind of stays. It's almost like a painting, like this moment.
Yeah.
You know, that I'm waking up and your dad's coming in and breakfast is ready and you smell all the smell, that whole thing, the smells of the coffee and
Takes you right back.
yeah, it's something that stays with you, and you hope you're able to pass it on to your kids. And that's what I like about this story, is being able to bring it full circle at the end, and the character in the story has the same thing with his kids. You know that.
Yeah, I don't know if you talk about it with your boys. I mean, I don't have kids, but what I talk about with my nieces and nephews, I try to be, you know, I love being Uncle Butch, but we'll leave and I'll say, hey, by the way, what's happening right now? This is good stuff. This is, you might think that I'm being irritating, that I won't leave you alone, or that your sister's bothering you, or whatever. This right now is some of the best times of your entire life. I promise you what's happening right now.
Yeah, it was an interesting ride, and we've got to write some other good songs as well. Like, you know, The Leap of Faith was a great tune, and I think we did a good job on the music execution, and
I love that song.
it had a good story to it, a lot of hope invested in it. There's a couple other songs that we may get the opportunity. You know, Here Comes the Moment. I actually would be pretty excited, you know, if we could do a production on that one. I think that would be pretty cool.
All about it. If not now, when?
Yeah. Well, you know, and I'll go back to the just personally, one of those things, because, you know, gosh, I've known you for a long time.
A little bit.
And this song really exemplified the connections that we had that we didn't know. You know,
Yeah.
with where, you know,
No, you blew me up.
yeah, seeing pictures of your dad and you telling me stories like, wow, that was my situation.
I was going to say, hearing you, what I thought was like hearing you talk and say, number one, I couldn't believe we'd never talked about how we grew up, but
Yeah.
I mean, hearing you tell your story about how you grew up on your farm and my father talking about being on his farm, the same stories.
It was quite a you know.
Okay, well, of course, like 40 to 50 years apart.
And you know, everybody, you know, so somebody else that's listening to it may not have the same exact relationship with their daddy like where they had the cane pole fishing, but they still have those memories. Like I remember walking with my dad on the parking lot like we're going to Walmart or something, and the shadow thing, you know, can I make my shadow bigger than my daddy's shadow? You know, and there's those memories, like I'd be sitting in the passenger seat with him, he's driving the car, and I'm racing these other cars in my mind, you know, so you have those special moments with your dad or your mom, you know, or your grandparents, and I think the listener can relate to those memories, you know.
And that's I'm glad we used the pictures and stuff. So, I mean, we're such a digital age. For me, though, to be able to do this,
Right.
to hold and look at a picture, and
amazing.
there's something intangible about that.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, you know, it makes those pictures more precious because, you know, with your boys, etc., and with my family, digital pictures.
Oh yeah.
You're just cranking them out left and right. It's not. Are you busy? Okay, so Saturday we're all going to get together. Wear your best clothes. Wear your tie. You wear your wife's shirt. Behave yourself. We're going to be at Olin Mills, and we're all going to take a family picture.
And Polaroids, you know, are actually kind of making a comeback a little bit in some ways. You know, there's some expensive Polaroid cameras and some kids Polaroid cameras. I told my wife the other day, I was like, we should go to one of those booths and take those pictures. You know,
Yeah. I love those.
There is something about. I mean, even some of the filters, you know, you can get our vintage filters. You know, like even my wife, you know, with our wedding pictures, we chose some old vintage pictures. There's just something special about.
What I will say though is having the digital camera, having an iPhone with a great camera, being able to go to my aunt's house or a cousin's house and you see a picture that you haven't had, and you can actually take a good quality picture and have a print made. That warms my heart beyond belief, and that's what these are. Of my grandfather.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is just me taking a picture, and then blowing it up and still getting something quality.
So I do have one question for you, Butch. I know we're getting close to the end here, but
Oh, good.
do you ever look at yourself in the mirror and see your dad?
Like, yeah, all the time now. Especially at the family reunion we were just at 3 or 4 weeks ago. I walked in the room and they went, Booker.
But
Yeah.
Well,
The rounder I get, the grayer I get.
he's got the dad bod going on.
Yeah.
well, we just hope that y'all connect somehow with this song like we have, and whether it's the whole experience or just a part of it.
I hope it speaks to you the way it speaks to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a special song.
Right. Which is actually, I think, one of the things I love about these guys too, and myself. Speaking to other folks through music, touching somebody else's heart, and hopefully, as much as the music means to us, it'll mean the same to you.
No matter where we come from, we all have a lot in common.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be a good day.